Imagine living in a world where the animals and plant life were thriving and uninhibited in their growth due to human behavior. For that, we would have to go back more than a few hundred years. In the 1800s, experiments suggesting that human-produced CO2 and other gases could collect in the atmosphere and insulate Earth were met with more curiosity than concern. By the late 1950s, CO2 readings would offer some of the first data to corroborate the global warming theory. However, it still took nearly a century of research and data to convince the vast majority of the scientific community that human activity could alter the climate of our entire planet. Eventually, an abundance of data, along with climate modeling, would show not only that global warming was real, but that it also presented a host of dire consequences. You may be wondering what the term global warming really means. Climate change. Climate change is a long-term alteration in Earth's climate and weather patterns. It is a gradual increase in the overall temperature of the Earth's atmosphere, generally attributed to the greenhouse effect. Simply put, global warming is caused by increased concentrations of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, mainly from human activities such as burning fossil fuels and farming. Specifically, the release of greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, methane, CFCs, etc. into the atmosphere contribute to the progress of global warming. As you can see, global warming has risen steadily since the beginning of the 1800s until now. There has been no slowdown in global warming, even up until now. As the earth gets warmer, plants and animals that need to live in cold places, like on mountaintops or in the Arctic, might not have a suitable place to live. If the earth keeps getting warmer, up to 1/4 of all the plants and animals on earth could become extinct within 100 years. Rising temperatures lower many species' survival rates due to changes that lead to less food, less successful reproduction, and meddle with the environment for native wildlife. Rising temperatures are causing animals to die from dehydration, maybe even become weak enough that prey can hurt them. The water is drying out. Their homes might get taken from them. They might get driven out of their homes. For example, polar bears will be wiped out by the end of the century unless more is done to tackle climate change. A study predicts scientists say some populations have already reached their survival limits. As the Arctic sea ice shrinks, the carnivores rely on the sea of ice of the Arctic Ocean to hunt for seals. Most plants live in areas with very specific climate conditions, such as temperature and rainfall patterns, that enable them to thrive. Any change in the climate of an area can affect the plants living there, as well as the makeup of the entire ecosystem. The rising temperatures lead to more frequent droughts, wildfires, and invasive pest outbreaks, leading to the loss of plant species. That has numerous detrimental effects, including lowered productivity, longer droughts, and increased number of heat waves, will stress plants, causing them to be less productive. The loss of so many rare native plant habitats is most often the principal reason why plants become endangered. The fragmentation of habitat into tiny, distant patches also make it difficult for pollinators to find their native food plants. Scientists have predicted that long-term effects of climate change will include a decrease in sea ice and an increase of permafrost thawing, an increase in heat waves and heavy precipitation, and decreased water resources in semi-arid regions. Much of our electricity and heat is powered by coal, oil, and gas. Use less energy by lowering your heat and cooling, switching to LED light bulbs and energy efficient electric appliances, washing your laundry with cold water, or hanging things to dry instead of using a dryer. The world's roads are clogged with vehicles, most of them burning diesel or petrol. Walking or riding a bike instead of driving will reduce greenhouse gas emissions and help your health and fitness. For longer distances, consider taking a train or a bus and carpool whenever possible.
Eating more vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds, and less meat and dairy can significantly lower your environmental impact. Producing plant-based foods generally results in fewer greenhouse gas emissions and requires less energy, land, and water.